Hello Divination and welcome. In this video, I'm going to show you 6 micro interactions that will make your Divi site more enjoyable, and also there's a free downloadable. So without wasting a lot of time, let's dive in and let's get started. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is to create a brand new page. So I'm going to come over here to Pages, click on Add New, and we're going to give a page a title. So you can name this whatever you want. So I'm just going to call this Micro Interactions. And then I'm going to click on Use Divi Builder. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start building from scratch. So I'm going to click here, Start Building. So if you want to follow step by step using all the CSS code or colors that I'll be using throughout this tutorial, I will leave a link to the post in the description below. So you can go ahead and follow this step by step. All right, so the first thing we're going to do here is to add 3 columns. So I'm going to go ahead and choose my columns. And in the first column here, we're going to add an image module. So I'm going to search for it and then select it. Next, I'm going to add my image. So I'm going to click here. And then I have my image here in the media library. So I'm just going to scroll down and find my image. So I'm going to go with this one here. So I'm going to select it, click Upload an Image. Next, we are going to add a CSS class. So I'm going to click here on Advanced, CSS ID and Classes. So on the CSS class, I am going to add this class called a Scale Image. And then for now, we're going to save. And then we need to add some CSS code to this page in order for us to target the animation. So I'm going to come over here to the 3 little dots, click here, and then we're going to click this gear icon. Now, this gives us access to the custom CSS for the actual page. So I'm going to go ahead and paste my CSS code in here, save the page, and this should give us this action. So as you can see here, even though I haven't exited the Visual Builder, our action is already happening. Now let's try something different. So we're going to come over here to the second column, and this time we are going to add a blurb. So I'm going to search for my blurb. I'm going to select it. And then over here on image and icon, we need to add our image. So again, I'm going to scroll down, choose my image that I used before, click Upload an Image. And now my image has been added. So next we're going to add our CSS class. So we're going to come over here to Advanced, CSS ID and Classes, and then I'm going to paste my class in here. Now it's time to add our CSS code again. So I'm going to save this for now. And then I'm going to come back over here to my page settings, click on Advanced tab, Custom CSS, and then I'm just going to add a few lines here and paste my CSS code. Okay, so this CSS code now is going to add on our effects to this image here. And as you can see here, it's already applied. So I'm going to save this. So our CSS code here is targeted to the actual image. And you can see this one here is slightly different. It's zooming within its boundary, and this one here is zooming out. So this is how we add different effects. So the next thing we're going to do is to scale the person module image on hover. So I'm going to come over here, click this plus button and search for the person module. I'm going to select it. We're going to come over here to image and add our image. And again, I'm going to use the same image. By the way, you can use any image you want, but the dimensions that I'm using here are 400 by 400 for this example. So I'm going to go ahead, click Upload an Image. So as you can see here, there's no effect. Now, as we did before, we're going to add our class. So I'm going to come over here to the Advanced tab, CSS ID and Classes, and then I'm going to paste my class here. And then we're going to save. Next, we're going to come over here to our page settings, click on Advanced, Custom CSS, and I'm going to add my CSS code in here. And if we mouse over this, it should work as well. So as you can see here, it is working. I'm going to save this. So basically, this is how we add all our animations on our modules. Okay, so let's go ahead and add a bouncing scroll down icon as our next effect. So the first thing we need to do is to add a full width section. So I'm going to come over here, click this plus button. So I'm click here on full width header. So right now everything is all aligned to the left. So let's center all of this. So I'm going to come over here to Design, Layout, Text Orientation. I'm going to center all that. Next, we're going to come over here to scroll down icon. So as you can see right now, we don't have anything here because it's not shown. So we're going to click here to show it. So by default, we have this style here, but we can also go in here and change it. So right now I've chosen this little triangle facing down, and you can also come here and increase the size if you want to.
Okay, like that. But we're just going to leave that as it is. The most important thing here is to add our CSS class. So I'm going to come over here to Advanced, CSS ID and Classes, and then I'm going to paste my class in here. So for now, I'm going to save. Now I am going to add my CSS to my page. So as we did before, we're going to come over here to our page settings, click on Advanced, Custom CSS. So we're going to scroll down over here. Now it's important that you add 2 lines at least, so that your CSS code does not go into these brackets here of the previous code, because if you do that, then everything is going to be all messed up. So I'm going to paste my code in here and then save. So let me see if we can actually test this. And we can see that it's working. Great. Okay, so moving on. In the next example, we are going to be rotating icons on hover. So let's go ahead and add a brand new section. And this time it's going to be a regular section, single column, and we're going to add a button. I'm going to select it. So right now, this is how it comes in by default. So what we need to do is to make some customizations to it. So first of all, I'm going to center it. And then I'm going to come over here to my button and activate use custom styles for button. Now by activating this, this is going to give us the ability to make changes to this button. All right, so now that I've added that, the next thing is only show icon on hover. We need to set that to no. So I'm going to scroll down here. So here, show icon on, only show icon on hover. I'm going to set that to no. Now for the icon, you can choose any icon of your choice. So I'm going to go with, let me see. Okay, I'm going to go with this lock. Right, so now that we have this lock in place, the next thing we need to do here is to come over here to Advanced, CSS ID and Classes, and add your class. We're going to save this, and then we need to add some CSS code to this page. So I'm going to come over here, click on Page Settings, and then I'm going to add my CSS code. So as you can see, all our micro interactions are driven by the CSS code that we're adding onto this page, and also the ID classes. So I'm going to click here on Advanced Custom CSS. And again, I'm going to go all the way down here to the bottom, add a few lines, and paste my CSS code. So as you can see, my chain here, my lock here is facing the other way. But when I mouse over it, you can see that it is now animating. Then I'm going to go ahead and save. So the next example is we are going to rotate a blurb module icon. So again, I'm going to come over here, click this plus button, click on regular. We're going to go with 3 columns, and then we're going to add a blurb like that. Right, so now that we have that in place, use icon, we're going to say yes. So we're going to come over here to image and icon. And now we're going to add our icon. So again, you can choose any icon that you want. So I'm just going to scroll down here and see what I can go with. So this time I'm just going to go with this camera. So over here on the content, I'm going to come over here to the text. So we're just going to get rid of the paragraph text here. And we're going to come over here to design text. And for the text orientation, we're going to center everything here. Okay, so that's looking great. The next stage now is to add our CSS class. So I'm going to click here on Advanced CSS. Nope. We're going to go to CSS ID and Classes, add my class over here. I'm going to save this. And then I'm going to add my CSS code onto my page. So as we did before, you want to click here on our gear icon. Click on Advanced, Custom CSS. And then I'm going to add a few lines, add my CSS code. So you can see here that it is now rotating. All right, so let's go ahead and save. So what you could actually do is you can also have this icon on the left if you wanted, and also you can just go in and change the icon if you want to change that as well. So let's say you want to use a different icon for that. So you can just come over here and this time let's go with this. Okay, and save, and then let's test it. So again, you can see here it's animating. All right, so that's looking great. Okay, so for our 4th example, we are going to add a sliding button icons to show and hide the button text. So let's start by adding a brand new section. I'm going to click here on regular, single column, and we're going to add a button module. So as we did before, we need to make sure use custom styles for button is activated. So I'm going to come over here to design, button, use custom styles for button. And the first thing I'm going to do here is to add the button background color. So I'm going to click here on this plus button, add my color in here. And by the way, if you want to use the exact same colors I'm using here, the color is in the post, which I'll link to in the show notes below. Next, for our border width, we're going to set this to 0. And for our button icon color, I'm going to set this to white. And let's set our text to white as well, so it's easier to read. Okay, so now that we have this all set, the next stage now is to add our CSS class. So I'm going to come over here to Advanced, CSS ID and Classes. I'm going to add my class right here. And I think this looks much better when it's aligned. So I'm going to come over here and align this to the center and then save. So at the moment, you can see here the animation we have is just the basic default one. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add my CSS code to the page. So I'm going to click here on this gear icon, and then we're going to come over here to Advanced, Custom CSS, scroll all the way down, and we're just going to paste it like that. Now our animation here is not showing completely because we haven't exited the Visual Builder, so we are going to see the full animation once we exit the Visual Builder. All right, so we're going to go ahead and save. In our next example, we are going to do some 3D image perspective rotation. So we're going to come over here and click this plus button, click on regular section. We're going to have 3 columns. And in each column, we're going to add an image. So I'm going to first add my first image here. Click here and choose my image. So I'm going to go with this image right here. And again, the size is 600 by 610, but you can use any type of image with any dimensions. All right, so I'm going to go ahead now and click Upload an Image. Next, I'm going to come over here to the Advanced tab, click on Custom CSS. This time, we are going to add some CSS to the main element. So I'm going to add it here. So as you can see here, the moment I add my CSS code, we now have this perspective. Now, let's say you want to add a hover effect. All you have to do is to click here on this middle icon like that. Click on the hover tab and add the CSS code. So as you can see now, we have these 2 states. So on hover, this is the animation that will be happening. So let's save for now. And what I'm going to do now, because we want to add a few more examples, is to add this same image to the next columns. So I'm just going to hit Command C to copy. If you're on a PC, it's Control C. And then we're just going to paste it here in place like that. So all we have to do now to change the animation on hover, we just need to click here on the settings tab, click on Advanced, Custom CSS, and all we have to do now is to change our transform perspective. So I'm just going to replace this with my new CSS code like that. Click on hover, and then I'm also going to replace my code here with the new one. Okay, so now if we flip between these two, you can see here we have a totally different hover effect. Now let's move on to the final one. So we're going to save this, and then again we're going to click here on this module settings, Advanced, Custom CSS. So we are going to start with the default CSS. We're going to replace this with our new one. So I'm going to paste it in place, click on the hover tab, and I'm also going to paste my CSS code in here like that. So these are now the 2 different states, and then we can go ahead and save. Okay, so let's move on to our last example. So I'm going to click here on this plus button and click on regular. I'm just going to have a single column here and add our button module. I'm going to select it. So as we did before, we can just go in here. In fact, first of all, let's change our text here. So this time we're just going to call it download, just to make it slightly different to what we had before. And then we're going to come over here to design alignment. We're going to center this. And then we're going to come over here to our button and activate use custom styles for button. So the first thing we're going to change here is the button text color. So we're going to change this to white. And then we're going to come over here to our button background color and paste this color in here. Now, just as a quick reminder, if you want to use the exact same settings as I'm using throughout this tutorial, I will leave a link to the post in the show notes below. All right, so the next thing here is to set our border width to 0 and our border radius to 0 as well. And then for our button icon color, we're going to set it to white. So I'm going to scroll down here, set our icon to white. And we're going to choose our icon here. So the icon I'm going to go with is this one right here. So I'm going to select it. Now over here on the button icon placement, I'm going to set this to the left. And only show icon on hover, we're going to set this to no. And now we can see our icon is always going to be visible. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is to go to the custom margin and set it to 0. So I'm going to click here on spacing, add 0 to the bottom. Right, so what I'm going to do next is to duplicate this button. So I'm going to save this for now, and then I'm going to come over here and just duplicate this button. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go into this button settings and change our text. So this one here is just going to be MP3. Let's just add 3.5 MB. Right, so what we're going to do next is we're going to go in and choose our icon. So I'm going to click here on design, button. So in fact, before we add our icon, let's change our background color here to white. So I'm going to go ahead and select white, and our button text color, I'm just going to click this eyedropper tool and paste my color in here like that. And then we need to add our icon. So I'm going to scroll down here, and first of all, I need to add my button icon color. So this icon color is going to be the same as my text, and then we are going to choose our icon. So I'm going to go with this little hard drive, and then we're going to go ahead and save. Right, so the next thing is to come over here to the top button, click on the gear icon, click on advanced. So what we need to do here is to add a class, and the class is going to be called top button. Now it's time to add a custom width to our row. So I'm going to go ahead and save, and then we're going to come over here to our row settings. Click on design, sizing, and we are going to add a custom width. So I'm going to click here on use custom width, and we are going to set the size to 200 pixels. Next, we're going to come over here to the advanced tab, add our CSS class, and this time our class is going to be slider button. Now that we have our column CSS class, the next thing is to add our CSS code to the page. So we're going to come over here to the bottom of the page, click here on this gear icon, advanced, custom CSS, and we're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom here and add our CSS code. And then we're going to go ahead and save. Now to see all our final animations, we need to click on publish and exit the Visual Builder. So this is where we get the best experience. Right, so I'm going to exit the Visual Builder here, and then I'm just going to go through each and every one. So as you can see here, this is working fine. It's all fantastic. So moving on. Here, the lock is all rotating. So these are the micro interactions. And over here, all these images can rotate. And then finally, our button here is actually really, really cool.
So there you have it. Thank you all for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and do follow us on our social media platforms. By doing so, you'll be notified every time we release new tutorials. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.